I am Major Jackson, reading from my home in Rochester, Vermont, in the Green Mountains National Forest. You're watching Poets House Presents. I will be reading a selection of poems from my new book, The Absurd Man, out from W. Norton. The book is very much written with the idea of this figure who is outside of the author. The poems emerge from a constructed speaker who is, to some extent, shares identity with the poet. But by titling the book The Absurd Man, I'm calling the attention to the poet and their continual quest to create, but also to make meaning, and how each poem begins a new kind of search up the mountain of meaning. The poems also that I've selected really take place, most of them in urban environments, and I hope you enjoy them. The title of this poem is The Flu Nortons, A Well-Like Summer Cocktail. The Flu Nortons, a well-like summer cocktail, curbside on an ARP-like table. He's alone, of course, in the arts district, as it were, legs folded, swaying a foot so that his body seems to summon some deep immensity from all that surrounds. Dust shadows inching near a late 30-ish couple debating the post-galactic abyss of sex with strangers. Tourists ambling by, only to disappear into the street's gloomy mouth. A young Italian woman bending to retrieve a dropped Metro card, its black magnetic strip facing up. A lone speckled brown pigeon breaking from a flock of rock doves, then landing near a crushed fast food wrapper, newly tossed by a bike messenger. The man chortling after a sip of flaxen-colored beer, remembering that in the Gospel of John, the body and glory converge, linked to incarnation, and so perhaps we manifest each other. A tiny shower of sparks erupting from the knife sharpener's truck, who daily leans a blade into stone. A cloudscape reflected in the rear windshield of a halted taxi, where inside a trans woman applies auburn lipstick. The warlike insignia on the lapel jacket of a white-gloved doorman who, opening a glass door, gets a whiff of a dowager's thick perfume and recalls bailing Timothy Hay as a boy in Albania. The woman distractedly watching a mother discuss Robert Cole Scott's lurid appropriations of modernist art over niçoise salad suddenly frees her left breast from its cup, where awaits the blossoming mouth of an infant wildly reaching for a galaxy of milk. The sharp coughs of a student carrying a yoga mat, the day's last light edging high-rises on the west side so that they seemed rimmed by fire, just when the man says, and yet, amidst the wages we pay, boarding the great carousel of flesh. The next poem I would like to read is called The Romantics of Franconia Notch. Matthew Dickman and I are fond of resurrecting the spotted faces of state troopers and small town police we've met over the years. We love their melodrama, the way they peel their aviators in the rear view of my Jetta as they approach the car like shy teenagers on a first date, then doff their stiff brim hats with yellow braids. There was the pastel-loving cop in Eugene, fond of Art Deco motels in South Beach, and the comic book fan in Littleton, New Hampshire, who unlatched his gun holster, and the one tormented by Goethe's propositions, and thus led us, chorale-like, through a few hymns before issuing a roadside warning in Randolph, Vermont. When they asked us where are we going, we almost always respond to the town square, of course, to give the park back to the wretched men and their brown bags of sorrow and needles, which turn them to black puddles. We want the crime squad to know we have a purpose, that we sugar our hopes with the honeyed lines of Brodsky, Pessoa, and Thoreau, whom we were declaiming just that moment, zipping in the dark past low-lit colonials, when a black bear jumped out as though chased by the ghost of the bear he used to be, and Matthew turned up Jay-Z's Black Album so he'd get a boost and lurch into further darkness. Now that you are here, I can think. What you really are is svelte, the mainland of your feelings, a young Veronica Webb. And what we share are solutions, and not so much the Parisian air you tired of, nor the fat, sweaty bead coursing a décolletage, an unlikely consequence of the Kyoto Protocol, but the pleasures of lounging below French-style windows opened wide as arms, whose blousy curtain is a shawl that formally hangs and informally shifts when you drift into the room like a Spike Lee dolly shot. The kids are dancing to some Ariana, but I'm watching what you do with your lips when reading silently around 4:22 p.m. on a late Sunday afternoon. I have a weakness for marble winding stairs and tight two-person elevators, but the brasseries are waiting, as well as the football fans who need help cheering, for we are Americans after all, and are ready to hype even the locusts on the day of judgment. I don't care about the midfielder or the winger. You're smiling, and that's all the defending I'll ever need. And my last poem is titled Double Major. I emerge whenever he confuses the lamp for a moon. It is then he thinks of fine bindings and ordered Athenaeums. I own his face, but he washes and spends too little time behind his ears. He sees me in the mirror behind thick clouds of shaving cream, then suddenly believes in ghosts. His other selves are murals in the cave of his mind. They are speechless, yet large. They stare his wishes like summer rain and amplify his terrors like newscasters. What he doesn't know, his dreams are his father's dreams, which are his grandfather's dreams, and so on. They possessed a single wish. He knocks repeatedly on the bolted door to his imagination. Tragically, he believes he can mend his wounds with his poetry, and thus I am his most loyal critic. He trots me out like a police dog. He calls our thirst for pads and pencils destiny. Our voices come together like two wings of a butterfly. On occasion, he closes his eyes and sees me. I am negative capability. The test to all men are created equal. We are likely to dance at weddings against my will. He pulled out the same moves writing this poem, a smooth shimmy and a hop. This page is a kind of looking glass, making strange whatever stone carvings he installed along the narrow road to his interior. I suffer in silence, wedded to his convictions. He would like to tell you the truth about love, but we are going to bed. To bed. Poet's House has been meaningful for me because as a younger poet, it allowed me to be seen and made me more confident as someone who was emerging at a time in which visibility of poets was very difficult on the cultural landscape. Poets House has been asserting the importance of literature, the importance of writers in our society through extraordinary dynamic programming. I think of some of the events over the years that I have been involved in, such as the Walk Over Brooklyn Bridge, the weekend workshops that I've participated in. All of this programming for me has deepened and widened my readership and my connection with communities of poets, particularly in New York City, but also just through their advocacy. It's been extraordinary to watch the organization grow from its early days on Spring Street, 92 Spring Street, or it might be 72. I'm aging, but to suddenly arrive down there in its current location, which is an extraordinary location. When I travel to the city, I make sure that I stop in at least once, not only to look at some books, but also just to visually see its impact. I love walking in and seeing almost this kind of space, quiet space where people are sitting down, reading, writing quietly to themselves. And there's the library full of books of poetry. It's really a singular cultural institution in America, and I've just appreciated and valued how it's helped further my career along. Really extraordinary leadership. I admire everyone there, and long live Poets House. Thank you for watching Poets House Presents. I can be reached at my website, majorjackson.com, at Instagram, Poet Major Jackson, and on Twitter, Poet_Major.
If you've enjoyed these programs, please consider giving a contribution to Poets House. For more than 30 years, they've kept the door wide open to everyone for the joy of poetry. Recently, they have temporarily had to shut the door and are reeling from the financial implications. Please give, even a small donation if you can. Thank you.